Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
Numbers 23, verse 9. For from the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, the people shall dwell alone, and shall not be reckoned among the nations. Jeremiah 3, verse 23. Truly in vain is salvation hoped for from the hills, and from the multitude of mountains. Truly in the Lord our God is the salvation of Israel. Zephaniah 1, verse 10. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and an howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills. Alright, so let's just start with the basic definition of what a hill is. A hill is a natural elevation of land or a mass of earth rising above the common level of the surrounding land. An eminence. So hills like to have the eminence above the common level of the surrounding land. Jude 1 verse 3 says, Beloved, when I gave all diligence to write unto you of the common salvation, it was needful for me to write unto you, and exhort you that ye should earnestly contend for the faith which was once delivered unto the saints. And it's interesting because the word preeminence is mentioned exactly 3 times in the Blessed King James Bible. The first time being in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 19, which says that a man hath no preeminence above a beast, for all is vanity. In Colossians 1:18, he says that Jesus Christ in all things, he might have the preeminence. So Jesus Christ has the preeminence. He is above all things. And now the third mention of preeminence is found in 3 John chapter 1 verse 9. I wrote unto the church, but Diotrephes, who loveth to have the preeminence among them, receiveth us not. So we have to understand that salvation that is hoped for from the hills is in vain, and that the Lord has one holy hill. Here are some verses that confirm this. Psalms 24 verse 3. Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Or who shall stand in his holy place? Psalms 2:6. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. So there we get the interpretation that Zion is that holy hill. Psalms 43 verse 3. O send out thy light and thy truth. Let them lead me. Let them bring me unto thy holy hill and to thy tabernacles. And lastly, Psalms 99 verse 9. Exalt the Lord our God and worship at his holy hill, for the Lord our God is holy. I'll also add Psalm 68 verse 15 through 16. The hill of God is as the hill of Bashan, and high hill as the hill of Bashan. Why leap ye high hills? This is the hill which God desireth to dwell in. Yea, the Lord will dwell in it forever. So Bashan or Bashan literally means fruitful. Now 2 Corinthians 6 verse 16 says that we are the temple of the living God. And God says that he will dwell in us and will walk in us. Jesus said in John 15 verse 5, I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me ye can do nothing. Jesus connects this with his words abiding in us. Also, Colossians 1, 5 through 6 tells us that the gospel is what brings forth fruit in us. Isaiah 2 verse 14 says, "And upon all the high mountains and upon all the hills that are lifted up." So this denotes pride, the condemnation of the devil, being lifted up in pride. Isaiah 2 verse 2 says, "And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it." So the hills like to exalt themselves, but the Lord is exalted above the hills. Jesus Christ is above all things, and we are to exalt him and not ourselves. And just like Diotrephes, these hills love to have the preeminence. They love to rise above the common level of surrounding land. Jesus said in Luke 23 verse 30, "Then shall they begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, cover us." So look there in Zephaniah 1 verse 10. Think of the 10 horns on the beast. They themselves are beasts. Think the 10 commandments, the law. He says that there will be a great crashing from the hills. So he links these hills with having a crashing. Now the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of crash is a car crashing. Here's an example of a car crashing into another car. And by law, to drive a vehicle, one must have car insurance. So if one does get into a crash, they will have that insurance to cover them in the expenses of that crash. And there is a crash that will inevitably take place. And I pray to the Lord, my friend, that you have insurance, and in this case, that's the blood of Jesus Christ, the charity of God that will cover a multitude of sins.